All right, it is semi-final weekend in the Provincial Hurling Championship, and there are brilliant fixtures across both days. On Saturday at 2 o'clock it's Galway versus Dublin, and at 4:30 it's Kilkenny against Wexford. Then at 7 o'clock on Saturday it's Cork against Limerick in Semple Stadium, and then on Sunday it's Tipperary against Clare as well. To talk about this and everything else that's going on in the hurling world, I'm delighted to say Tommy Walsh is with us. Tommy, good afternoon to you. How are you getting on?
Yeah, good afternoon, Ger. Glad to be back for that.
It's back proper. There's no getting away from it. This is real now. It's properly starting this weekend.
Yeah, properly starting, and there was a huge positive news during the week. 8,000 people. Like when did we didn't think we were going to see that maybe this summer, but it's absolutely fantastic news. Crow Park, fits 70 or 80,000 people, so it does make common sense. Probably a lot more hard work for everyone involved organising it and sending out tickets and that. But absolutely wonderful, I'd say, for the players. So we've seen it at club level, a few challenge matches, a few tournament games, training session. The crowd's back, just makes it all the better. Much more positive experience. You can hear the shouts, you can hear the roars, and where are the games without atmosphere? We're looking at the Euros the last couple of weeks. When Harry Kane scored that goal, lying down the flat of his back, and Wembley was just on fire. And I know we're not from England, but it was still, a positive to see. And as a sports fan, I thought it was wonderful. Looking at the Manchester United documentary there during the last few weeks, going back when filling out Old Trafford with 60 or 70,000 people. Eric Cantona, when he scored them goals, and just the place going wild. So we're not back there yet, but we're getting there, and just wonderful to see 8,000 people going back to Croker on Saturday.
Last year, when we had nothing and everything came back behind closed doors, we were really grateful because we had nothing up to that point. But actually, it wasn't real. It was a bit fake, and it didn't actually matter the same way it seems to matter when, no matter how small a crowd there is, so long as they're making some noise, so long as they're reacting. I think one of the things that's been noticeable is that real crowds boo and they whistle and they give out about stuff. The fake crowd noise was all very positive, and it was that, it wasn't real.
No, and it's grand being positive, but I suppose positive is grand when you're doing something right. I think when you're not doing something right and there's positivity going around you, it's not so good, because that is fake. So however small it is, if you do something right, that's the time, I suppose, to jump in with the encouragement and the cheers. But no, you're right. We were just glad last year, Jared, to have anything back, a focus. You worked hard Monday to Friday, some lads on Saturday as well. Just have something to look forward to, a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday evening that you can focus all week on, talk about it, chat about it. And we were all at home that time. So it's great now as we're starting to get back out and about, that we can go to these games. And whatever about the 8,000 people going Saturday, it's huge for the GA community and for Ireland, that people can now go down to training sessions, watch them, go down to challenge matches. So you might only have 50 people but in a small club ground, that's massive. It's like having, 20 or 30,000 people in Croker. You see the retired people, and they're down sitting, on tires at scoreboards. You see them standing behind the goal, over on the sideline, just can't wait for it all day. And that's what it's all about. Like, it's more than just a game. Like, it's, as the GA, nothing beats being there. When you're there, you're chatting about everything that's going on in the world as well, plus watching the game. So, we were delighted to have it back last year without the fans, but we can see this year it's much better with them.
Do you think it's going to make a difference to any of the outcomes that some players and teams might perform in a different way? I mean, I don't know why it would affect one team more than another, but I can certainly see how some players would be affected by it and just not quite able to reach the emotional pitch that they need to get to be their best selves.
Yeah, I suppose the top sports people, regards emotion, I'm not so, you can't bring emotion too much into it on game day. You can use it to motivate you and all like that, but you can't let it take over. I know you're saying when the crowd is there that you can build on your emotion for 60 or 70 minutes. You can't do that. You might do it for 2 or 3 minutes, but it comes from the training you've done over the last couple of months or the last couple of weeks that will really get you over the line, Ger. Like I always feel, the big speeches at half-time and the big speeches before games, the crowds roaring you on there before the game. That's great if you have the work done, but if you haven't the work done, it's not worth a damn. I would say the experience maybe for the guys that find it hard to play under the pressure of the big crowds, that's where it might affect, the guys that will play well in challenge matches. But if the coach has done his job, where he trains with an intensity to match what's going to happen, on Championship Sunday, but I think, like, I remember when we were training, like, you know, you'd be nervous going out before training sessions because you wanted to beat the man you're on. You wanted to win that match in that training session. The same even if you were doing runs. You wanted to get to the top. You might know maybe there was faster lads than you, but you might want to get to that line before him. That's you in championship preparation, because every run, every training session, every challenge match is your All-Ireland. And if you had that preparation and that mentality, then the big days, they were all big days. So it didn't matter to you. So I'd say really who it would affect is the guy that maybe swans around scoring 5 or 6 points in a challenge game or in a game with no crowd. The guy that prepares properly, it shouldn't affect them.
Okay, that is interesting, because look, we don't know what's going to happen when the crowds come back, if there's going to be a different outcome to last year. Certainly we'd hope for a few more closer games, particularly from tomorrow on. Let's talk about the contenders, right? There's generally been an acceptance that Limerick are the best team in the country on the basis of what we've seen last year and over the last 3 years, the physical capabilities of the team, the stick work, the tactical application that they have. Is that still the case in your view? Has anybody closed the gap at all?
Yeah, I think nobody has done. They're going for 3 in a row in Munster to win the Mick Mackey Cup, as it's now called. I don't think it has been done since '89. I think Tipperary were the last team to do it. Many teams have tried to do it since. You know, you have the great Tipperary teams that have played since and won a couple of All-Irelands, 3 All-Irelands. You have the great Cork team there of the late 90s, early 2000s. They tried to do it and couldn't do it. So there's been fantastic teams that have tried to do 3 in a row in Munster and haven't been able. So yeah, there's going to be a big focus. They're obviously, a hugely motivated group, which starts at the top, even starts with probably JP down as far as then John Kiley and his management team, Paul Kinnerk. But it's going to be hard to do. Like, I was looking at their team for this weekend. They're still bringing in only 2 guys again, and they're the same players that were kind of starting or coming on the last few years. So they haven't really introduced, any new bodies. It's hard to do it over a long period of time. If you're not introducing new faces, say from the 20 or so players they've been using since they started this run back in 2018. So it will be more difficult. The other thing is then people will start copping onto their game plan. Like, I think hurling, it kind of evolves depending on the All-Ireland champions. At the moment, you will see most teams playing the ball from defence, from goalkeeper probably to defence, right up as far as midfield, and then they spray the ball in, either over the bar or a lovely ball into the full forward line. So I think they have the advantage with Garrod Hegarty, Keane Lynch and Tom Morrissey, big strong men. They can get the ball and ride the tackles. So I would imagine the way that people will try and tackle that Limerick team is try and man mark them. What does that do, Jared? Leave space inside for Peter Casey and Graham O'Connell. He's not playing the weekend, but Aaron Gillan and these Seamus Flanagan. But I think we haven't been able to beat him the other way, so I think this might be the way to beat him. Man mark that they're half forward line and see where that takes you.
And is there any of the other teams who are equipped from a personnel perspective to do that properly and at the same time leave those inside forwards one-on-one and kind of hope that you're going to get away with it?
I think so. I think there's loads of teams. Like, it's like the revolution years in the mid-90s. Like, traditionally it was Kilkenny, Cork, Tipperary for 50 or 60 years. Sometimes Offaly came in with their golden generation. Clare came in then with their generation. Limerick had their period. Wexford back in the the early, say the 50s, I suppose, and the 60s. But over the long, I suppose, course, over 100 or so years, it'd be generally Kilkenny, Tipperary and Cork. But now we're seeing it could be anyone. Like, Clare are coming good, Waterford are back, contending the whole time. Wexford under Davy Fitz are back. I think their biggest, like the team that could cause them the biggest problems is the team this weekend. That's Cork. Why? Limerick are strong and they're skillful. Cork are fast and skillful. And the way you always bet strength was speed of mind and speed of feet. And Cork have both. So I think they'll be playing the team that I feel are equipped to beat them the most. And that's Cork. You don't take on this Limerick team, Jerry, with strength. Why would you? They're all 6'5", 6'6". They're all built like tanks. They're in the gym for the last couple of years. Don't take them on at their own game. So I think speed is the way to take on that Limerick team. And I think that's why we've seen Cork focusing on goals. You'll have to score goals. I know in the last couple of years we've seen teams scoring 30 and plus points, but still if you can get goals, it's the way to win matches. And this Cork team is focusing on goals this year. and they're scoring quite a lot of them. So yeah, I think this Cork team are well equipped to take them on this weekend.
In general terms, then, it is the clash of styles that's going to be most interesting from this year's championship. Like, obviously, Galway are physically equipped to have that physical fight with Limerick, but they also have incredible skill levels as well. Most people are saying that Galway are the closest to Limerick. It sounds to me like you're most interested in seeing what happens this weekend with the Limerick Cork game, to see how that style matches up against Limerick style. Where are Galway in terms of your rankings at the moment?
Galway top 3. So my top 3. I know I was talking about Cork. Cork are kind of, it'll depend on how they defend for me, Cork, whether they will have ambitions to win this All-Ireland or not. To have Donal O'Grady in, he's a winner, a serial winner, so he will put that doggedness into the team. And I'm not talking about their defenders. I'm talking about starting at number 15, because they can do anything they want when they have the ball. So when we see this Cork team defending like Tigers, starting at number 15, getting in maybe diving blocks, diving hooks, getting in turnovers when they should never have got it in. A guy running like Seamus Callan did a couple of years ago, 40 yards, maybe just to put off a lad, you mightn't even get in a hook. When we see that Cork team doing that, then I will put them up as All-Ireland final contenders. At the moment, my top 3 would be Kilkenny, Galway and Limerick. So you asked me about Galway, yeah, because they have the strength and they have the skill as well. They have young Nyland, who had a great year last year as well, especially in the semi-final. He's starting off great again this year. Concannon, these are lads that were adding to the team that won the All-Ireland back in 2017. You still have Joe Canning. Joe Canning, an interesting one this weekend. He's going to overtake Henry as the overall top championship scorer. Like, an amazing feat. Like, we all remember when Joe burst on the scene as a 16-year-old. But with Portumna, and then later on, then with Galway a couple of years later, has been probably, the idol for so many players, no matter what county you're from, a role model, has always done things right. He's going to, try and achieve an incredible feat. We all know what King Henry has done. Eddie Kerr, Christy Ring, Mick Mackey, all these guys. But yeah, no, Joe is trying to do that this weekend. So they have the players, Galway. They have new lads coming in. And Conor Whelan, I think, is at probably the height of his powers at the moment. So they have a great balance. So yeah, we'll put them up as in my top 3, Galway.
Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't sure where Kilkenny were going to fit, if they would be limping on to the top tier or if they were in a second tier. But you obviously have them in that top tier and capable of winning it this year.
I do, yeah. For the simple reason is they always, well, I'm not saying they will always. You can't take it for granted at any stage, but I would, knowing the players, knowing the management that's there now, they will be up first. They will give it everything on the day. So I don't think we'll have to question that because they're never complacent. A few weeks ago, you'd say maybe the public were getting complacent by playing Wexford this weekend. Thankfully, that's such a fantastic win over Laois Wexford. They can be no one complacent now. Wexford look like they have the strut back. The pep is back in their step, and so we know the quality of players. So they will be up for it. Why do I put them as All-Ireland contenders? They have great young fellas coming through, Ger. Like they've Adrian Mullen, fantastic. I know he's had a couple of injuries, but he's coming back and he just has that bit of class. Owen Cody. Cody's been doing it both for Ballyhale and for Kilkenny for the last number of years. A typical corner forward, Ger, might be in the game. Suddenly he'll score 1-2 or 1-3, or maybe he'll score 2 goals. That's what you want out of corner forwards. So they have the players. Billy Ryan from Ballycallan, great burst of speed, again can turn a game. So I think they have that bit of class. Mossy Keown from our own club in the form of his life, and then they have great defenders as well up the middle. So yeah, no, listen, I definitely will put Kilkenny as contenders. They've been in the last couple of All-Irelands and All-Ireland semi-finals, so they have proven it as well.
How are they trying to play the game? Because we've got very clearly defined style from Limerick, and we've got very clearly defined opposite style, not opposite, but a way of working around that from Cork's perspective, and we know where Galway are. What are Kilkenny trying to do? Yeah,
well, like Kilkenny will get criticised for trying to play the original game, as we call it. You win your own ball, you get it into the forwards as fast as you can. Times have changed. So I don't think there was anything wrong with their game when they were playing, say, the likes of a Galway, playing Tipperary, playing Cork, Limerick even. I think Kilkenny's game plan has always been fine, where you play the traditional way and in the traditional format. But where they struggled was, I suppose, when they came up against maybe like the All-Ireland final, the second half, when Richie Hogan wasn't there, they were down to 14 men. Against the Wexfords, the Watfords, when there were sweepers and that in play. So that's the style I think we had to come up with a plan to combat. And I think this year we've been trying to do it. So it's like Limerick. You bring the ball up, short if you have to, from the goalkeeper up, and then let the ball in when you see that there's a one-on-one opportunity with your inside forward line. See, when you get the ball around the full back line or half back line deep, we'll say, and you just clear it without looking, the way that the teams are setting up now, and they're so organised and they're watching so much video analysis, they know where you're going to hit it. So you're kind of a 2-on-1 situation, which you don't want. We saw it last weekend. I thought Clare, they had a 2. John Connon was nearly everywhere. So if you hit the ball blind up to a lad playing like that, he's going to sweep it up and you make a hero of him. So I think when you're playing a team like Clare last weekend, that's when you have to change tack. And that's when you have to bring that ball up that little bit shorter and then spray it in or put it over the bar when the time arises.
And was the inconsistency last year coming from the fact that Kilkenny were kind of working that out a little bit on the fly, that this year is a more polished version of the tactical approach and the understanding of what they need to do to counteract what they're facing?
Yeah, well, who knows really, Jerry, because you don't really know until Championship. In the league, you'll have 2 or 3 seconds on the ball. In Championship, you have a half a second. It's incredible. And, everyone will always say Championship is Championship. And you wouldn't realise you're on that field. A half a second is a lifetime in when you have the ball. So you come out with the ball in a league game, Ger, when lads, they're trying hard, but that same pressure, intensity isn't there. So you'll be able to spot passes. But suddenly when you're in a Championship knockout game and you could be gone out of the Championship, or teams are at their fittest, you're in the middle of the summer, they're chasing you when they might not have the fitness to chase you earlier on in the year. So when you have that ball and you look up, suddenly there's everybody around you. What do you do then? Do you panic? So I think it's a style that you can't just put it on a clipboard, put it on a blackboard and say, right lads, this is the way we're playing. It has to be practiced at a huge intensity for a long period of time before you can master it. So I think Kilkenny, we saw them last year trying it. They're again doing it again this year. So it'll depend on how far they can go in this Championship, whether they can master it or not.
Okay, it actually seems like there's a good chance this year with fans at matches that we're going to have the Championship where Limerick are going to be there to be got at by everybody as the reigning champions, and everybody's going to have a good go off them because they actually, as you've said, have got a lot of tape on them, and whether or not that's enough to make the matches close. I don't know. I'm making the case here that there are multiple contenders. The game should be good and they should be close from the get-go. I mean, obviously we've seen Clare already take care of Waterford kind of at arm's length.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And thinking before this chat, who would your All-Ireland final champions, who is it going to be? It's just getting the dart and throwing it at the dartboard there, and whoever hits there, so we'll go for them and we'll make a case for it. So it's as simple as that, really, to be honest. It could be anything. You could make a case for the top 3 I said. You throw in then, Tipperary, obviously, depends on how they're young fellas. We all know what they're older guys that have the All-Ireland medal in their back pockets. We know what they will do. How will Paddy Cadell do? How will Jake Morris do this year? Brian McGrath, will they up it? If they're under 21s that have won them 2 All-Irelands, if they can up it this year, they'll be serious contenders. So listen, there's probably 5 or 6 teams that could potentially win the All-Ireland, but they were my top 3.
Okay, that's not bad. It's a good top 3 to have, and I think you've a good chance of picking the winner from that 3. I did want to ask you about something else that's going on at the moment. Obviously, you were talking about training sessions that are like the pitch is reopened essentially I think 2.5 months ago maybe, and kids are back. You've become essentially a full-time, evenings anyway, underage hurling coach. What's that transition been like for you? What are you doing? Are you getting good numbers of training? How are you keeping them interested? How are you keeping them away from the Euros?
They don't know about the Euros around here. We don't tell them. So, no, listen, young fellas are just glad to get back. It's all about games. They love games. You can talk about coaching and you can coach them the skills of the game. A young fella and even the older fellas, the first thing to go down to the hurling field is to play a game. So we're trying to play as many matches as we can. Go down Saturday mornings, the Camogie girls, they've full house down there, 6s, 8s, 10s, and it's just wonderful to see. Lovely Saturday mornings, field full of parents, of children, and they're all playing games and a few skills first and then into their games. So that's what we're trying to do. When you think, Ger, of when you played the game, what do you remember? Do you remember hitting the ball across the field Or do you remember maybe in a little training session scoring 2 goals and, you know, your parents, your uncle, your grandparents at it, like you're so proud. The first thing they'll do is look up to see who's watching, you know, and see the smile on their face. So at the moment, it's all games that we're playing. We had a good one the other night. We were playing Mahone under 9s. Owen Kelly is over them. So they came down, they're only half an hour up the road, you know, and Owen is a great club man there, and he brought down the lads. A friend of mine, a great greyhound trainer, John O'Flynn, he's on the under-9 management team. So he organised a challenge match, and I was asked him to find out what's Kelly's young lad like, you know. And so he went off at it and he found out. And I said, we're all right. He said, he was talking to a lad. He said, he's no interest in the game. He said, hates hurling. He said, he'll come down now and he'll be looking up into the sky or looking at the butterflies along the side of the field. I said, yes, that's grand. So we won't have to worry about him, you know. And we went down anyway last Monday night. Absolutely destroyed us. He was unreal. You know, he was nearly better than Owen himself. So, listen, you know, games, that's what young fellas like, I think. And the more you play, I suppose, the more enjoyment that they get out of it.
It's the under-9s you're over, is it?
Yeah, I'm over the under-9s, and you know, so you've been down watching, you know, most of their games. So you've Camogie going on there as well. I've a little daughter playing under-8s as well. So yeah, no, it's full time. I'm still playing as well, so that's 3 or 4 nights a week as well. So that's why, you know, I'm only coaching once or twice a week. That's all, you know.
Yeah, come here. The thing like that strikes me that is most important, particularly when it comes to hurling, is that it's not just the training session at the pitch, because the skills, the speed at which they pick up skills is amazing. One training session can really transform any kid at that age, but actually getting them to make sure that they're walking around the place with the sliotar and the hurl at home, that's the bit that kind of transforms them, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Like if you've been under, say, 17 and 19 and you have to train once a week, that's 1 hour, you know, maybe an hour and 5 minutes you have in the whole 7 days. So if you have the best coaching session in the world that Monday night and they don't pick up a hurler of football for the rest of the week, you know, like what good is it? I'd rather, if you didn't have any training session and a young lad was back 2 or 3 hours a day playing little games in his garden, whether it was hurling, soccer, Gaelic football, they would learn a lot more. So I think that is the real, you know, target of any coach is to sell that dream to the young fella that, listen, to play well here on a Monday night or a Saturday morning, listen, get out every day of the week. And it doesn't have to be hitting the ball off a wall. It could be just you and your brothers or you and your cousins or friends out playing 3 goals in in. And I think that's the real success of any coach. Like I always felt like you could come up with the best drills in the world for a training session of a Monday night or a Tuesday night. But if the young fella, you know, if he doesn't want to be there, or if he doesn't dream of, you know, being like one of his heroes, you're wasting your time. So I think the first thing, Jerry, you're trying to do is you're trying to win their hearts. You're trying to, I suppose, throw dreams into their head, really, you know, that will make them go out then during the week when they're at home hitting the ball off a wall. And, you know, like I always remember that All-Star from a few years ago. This lad was turning around in the bed. And, you know, the dreams of him going up, he was only 6 or 7 years of age, going up to Croker or going up winning his All-Star. That's what you're trying to sell to a young fella all the time. Like, I remember there was a tournament in Kilkenny, the Downey Sevens, a famous tournament, 13, 7-a-side. You picked the panel of 10. And it was such an honour to be picked on your club team to go to this tournament because, you know, you're between the age of 10 and 13 years of age. You went off for the day. This was before probably travelling away to outside your county to matches and that, you know. And you went off with a packed lunch, a bottle of orange, and there was probably a chip van there as well. And you were gone for the whole day. And if you got through that day, you came back about 2 weeks later for finals day. And I was looking at it there during the week, the player of the tournament winners of that tournament. Henry Shefflin, Cha Fitzpatrick twice, Richie Hogan, even from outside the county chair, Chad Dwyer, all the Leinster guys will know Chad Dwyer is a fantastic player for Laois at the moment. He was player of the tournament in that. It's generally Kenny, Tipperary, Laois teams takes part in this. Johnny Enright went on and had a fantastic career with UCC, and Thurles won a few county finals with Thurles as well. A brilliant player, another player of the tournament. Dennis Byrne, you know, so these these underage tournaments, they're another part of selling the dream, because you get to go off for the day and off with your friends, maybe in a bus, or off, you get lifted a carload of young fellas heading off for a day. Maybe we went off 2 years ago up to Mead, another great tournament. Burgers there, halfway through the tournament into a hall, and we all sitting around chatting. So, listen, it's more than just like the GAA, hurling, Gaelic football, soccer. They're more than just a game. Like they're brilliant when I didn't just love playing. I loved the whole package, the making the friends, off for the day, having the crack. So it's fantastic for a young fella at the moment.
The other thing is that your club has obviously taken the women's side of the GAA very seriously for a long time as well. So it's completely natural. There's loads of role models there for your daughter growing up watching the same things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was at the league final a couple of weeks ago there, Kilkenny and Cork, or Kilkenny and Galway, 7:30 of a Sunday evening. It didn't sound, it sounded like it was kind of just being put in there for the sake of it. But my argument at the time was, the Euros, RTE already had, the Euros, it was fixed for a certain time. So why clash with something that was going to be so popular?
Yeah.
Even if it was a hurling game. So it was on Sunday evening at 7:30. We had a huge crowd up at it. There was a fantastic evening. You wouldn't be doing that in really bar the farmers, I suppose, of a Sunday evening anyway. There was no traffic going up to the game, easy to park, and what a wonderful game it was. And the girls knew this was going to be on prime time television. I'd say the audience, for RT on the evening was massive, and we had such a great game. So when you're promoting that, I suppose, to the little girls at home, they're looking up not at TJ Reid, not at Patrick Horgan, Seamus Callan. They're looking up at their own, camogie sport, and they're seeing their own heroes. And it's fantastic promotion going on with the camogie and the ladies Gaelic football at the moment. And you can see that on Saturday mornings. Another thing, we took it serious, camogie in the club. We didn't have a camogie club maybe 20, 25 years ago. It was Matty Butler, another great club man. Matty just loves the game and lives and dies for it. And he set up, along with a few more girls, he set up the Tullamore club, and it's got strength to strength. So now we're able to, produce our own underage teams. So it's absolutely fantastic. And the start of this year, they used to kind of train different nights during the week. They just decided, Saturday morning. So they start here at 9:30 Saturday mornings, 3 or 4 teams, and it just looks fantastic. Again, the perception is brilliant. The promotion of it is brilliant, because if the full house feels full, parents down there, as they always are now, and you have 4 or 5 coaches per team. So it's great atmosphere,
and we didn't know that we were missing this when we were missing it last year, and we weren't allowed to do all of that stuff. I think there's kind of been this national outpouring of people going and sitting and watching training. The ones that I'm at on a Saturday morning, people are bringing deck chairs and blankets, and the sun has been shining, and everybody's been having a crack.
Deck chairs. Are they not watching the game?
Well, they're watching the game with it from the deck chairs. I'm talking mini leagues now. This is before the games. The games are a bit more serious, all right.
All right, I thought they were laying off trying to get a suntan.
There's definitely a bit of that going on too. I'm not going to lie.
But you're listening, at least they're there. It's a start.
Exactly.
It's better than being home doing it, I suppose.
Exactly. Give me winners for this weekend then. Galway against Dublin. This one throws in at 2:00. Galway are going to beat Dublin, right?
Yeah, I think they'll be well prepared for it this year. Last year they went out with a championship. 2 years ago, as they went out with a championship up in Parnell Park. So Dublin have them out with a championship before. So I think they'll be well equipped. They'll be hungry. Even Joe himself will be hungry, I suppose, to mark that landmark achievement. So yeah, Galway for me.
Kilkenny Wexford.
Kilkenny Wexford. I thought it was supposed to be in Portlaoise originally. I worry for Kilkenny against Wexford tactics. I thought would be very hard to break down inside Portlaoise. I think it will definitely benefit us going to Croke Park, the wider spaces, and I'll go for Kilkenny in that.
And Cork Limerick.
It's going to be a contrast of styles, as we said. Cork are going to go for goals, and they've been doing that all summer. I think Limerick, they're a highly motivated group. Last year, I don't think it's going to take too much out of them. It was such a short campaign. So I'm going to go for Limerick.
Okay, and then the last one is Tip against Clare on Sunday afternoon.
Tipping Clare, again, like Clare, they had a fantastic win last weekend. You know, they've Aaron Shannon probably back to his best now to give Tony Kelly, you know, plenty of help up there. Ryan Taylor had a fantastic, he was kind of around midfield in the backs the last. They played a lot of a ball out from around the middle of the field. He was brilliant. So they have players now helping Tony Kelly this year. I still think they're probably missing many of their marquee players. John Conlon had to go back centre back. He was one of their main forwards. So I think Brer are going this weekend. Pádraig Mar possibly will be full back to put the shackles on Tony Kelly. So yeah, I'd go for Tipperary.
All right, it's going to be interesting whatever happens. Tommy, great to have you back. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Yeah, thanks, Ger. Okay, bye-bye.